I'm Vlad, one of the co-founders of Foton, as you know. And today I want to do a short presentation of the Foton marketplace, what we've been working so far, how it works, what you can do with it, and so we can continue this discussion also in the space today if you have more questions. But the purpose of this presentation is just to make a brief intro so we are kind of up to date with the features and what we will implement. Okay, so let's get started. One thing to keep in mind is that this is the front end, so you might see a lot of things that are repeating here and there, buttons, different states, because I had to pass them to Raresh, so that's why you will see simultaneously maybe hover buttons and things like that. Okay, so when you kind of land on the page, what you have to do first is to create a studio. Here, when you after you connect basically with your wallet, you will be prompted to create a studio if you want to make NFTs and mint them. The website is kind of structured in two big areas: the collector hub, basically where you just buy, sell, and trade NFTs, and the creator side where you, yeah, basically create NFTs and mint them and put them for sale and yeah, so forth. Um, so since you don't have a studio yet, you start creating one. So you will have a wizard where you go through all these kind of requirements. They are not so kind of overwhelming. You will give a name to your studio. Let's say, I don't know, Lemonade. It was a template there. You will select your wallet and you confirm launch. And what happens actually on the background is you will receive a badge in your wallet, basically that proves that you are the owner of this studio. These badges actually you can transfer them later, so you can even sell them if you want. If you kind of develop a business, let's say on a Foton, and you want to pass it to someone else later. That was the idea of these badges. um, okay, so once you are in your creator studio, we have what we call projects and collections. So basically there are three actually. It's projects, collections, and items. Projects are kind of branded, let's say, with this purple. Collections will be with blue, and items with green. Also, I try to make a differentiation between the projects to have them with this hexagonal kind of thumbnails. And when you enter in collections, you will see that the collections are blue and with square instead of hexagonal. Okay, anyway, so as a new user, here will be blank. You have to go to create a new project, and you will basically complete a form with a name, description. You attach pictures, banners, select categories. If you want, you can put also a license. What you have to keep in mind is that projects basically are a sort of collection, but it's a nested collection. So you can nest collections within projects, or you can make an analogy to files and folders on your computer. Why we did this is because let's say you have a brand, and this brand creates several collections, and like this you can also handle simultaneously several brands if you have, let's say, Adidas and Nike in the same time. So you don't want to mix the collections, and they will show up, so kind of all the characteristics will propagate to the collections inside the projects. So since projects are similar to collections, you still have to define if you want royalties for the items within this project, if you want to have them just loose without a royalty, and if it is a royalty, you will define what types of royalty. So basically all this section here is dedicated to royalties, and you can select it as percentages, amount, flexible, fixed. You can put a range for these royalties so that you cannot increase it above 10%, let's say. And this would give you the buyers and owners a sort of trust that in the future you will not rake these royalties to 100% and basically take all the value. Okay, and you create the project. It will be added here as a card, and once you enter the project you have to start adding content here, which basically are the collections. Since I said that projects are similar to collections, you can add also loose items like that don't belong to any collections, and you will see them here kind of dropped one after each other, and you can sort them and basically treat them as individual NFTs. When you add a collection, you can you have two options. You either create a collection from scratch, or you can import it. So if you generate some layers in other applications, I can show you this now. You have several kind of compatible third-party services from where you can generate these NFTs and import them directly in Foton with metadata and everything. This we already tested a while ago, like 1 year ago, I think, with some community members, and it was working quite well. And basically after you are importing the collection, you have a process where kind of it's doing them in batches, and if one of the batches is failing, you can kind of retry again and kind of complete the whole process. Okay, so this was the importing collection. If you want to create a collection from scratch, you again start completing a form. You define the type of collection you want. You want a flexible collection, basically where you can define the attributes, and items can be also different within the collection. While on the repetitive, you can think of it like tickets for an event where it doesn't matter the metadata, so you have the same tickets for everybody. Everybody has the same kind of equal spot within the event. A couple of years ago they were called prints. For example, you have a poster and you print 10 prints from it, so basically all items are identical. Anyway, so you define how many items you want in the collection, the usual kind of things related. Also again about royalties, which is basically repeating the same process that you had at projects. Here is a section about swaps. I'm not gonna go too much into it because it's more related to gamification, but we will detail it in the future. We already implemented at the smart contract level this, but we're still working on the user interface. And at the bottom you will define the attributes. For example, if you have the nerds collection, you kind of have to add the eyes, the nose, the hair, and so forward. So you just define the metadata, and at the next step basically you will fill up when you add items. Okay, so that's it regarding collections. When you are inside the collection, you can add items. Basically items, we didn't want to call them NFTs directly because we wanted to use a more kind of general language with less jargon. But when you add the items, you have again a sort of wizard, and you have a bit more options here. You either can create one single item, basically one NFT that it's one-on-one, unique. You can add them in batches. Here is more like manual. You add 20 items at once, let's say. It's kind of similar to single item, but you just have a more smooth creating process for multiple at once. Then you have layered batch. Here we actually started also working a while ago at layered generator. Basically what I showed you with importing collection earlier, basically you can do also inside Foton. but it's a bit more work until we kind of settle all this layering and kind of art generation. And importing a generated collection, basically what I showed you earlier with the third-party services. So depending what you want to do, let's say you create 20 items at once. You start one by one and basically you define image for each one individually. You already will have attributes here because you define them when you kind of created a collection. Here you just add the values. For example, if you had here eyes, nose, mouth, you just put blue eyes here, nose, I don't know, big nose and whatever. And you repeat this and create batch. And when you are kind of creating the batch, they will be added here like individual items, and you will see the pictures for your NFTs. This is basically the creator studio, and when you want to publish them, so keep in mind these are not minted yet, then you arrange your collection as you want and you go to publish. Here you can either mint them within your own wallet and you can do whatever you want with them. You can also trade them further on Foton, or you can create drops. You will find them publicly here after they're published, because these are all public pages like collection, drops, stats, and discover. So if you want to create drops, here is also a bit more kind of elaborated system. You can split your collection when you publish it in several time frames, let's call them. So each drop, it's a time frame, and you can manage these. You give a name to each drop, you define how many in the collection you want to add to this initial drop. Can be, let's say, 500 items from 10,000. So like this you can sell your collection in several stages. You define the time frame here, minting price. You can also reserve some items. You can also define, for example, if you give a placeholder token like you had with nerds, let's say, you can select the resource of the token and basically they can mint with the reserved placeholder token instead of spending XRD. Yeah, and basically a lot of details to complete for your drops page, like a sample of a couple of NFTs, how they might look, because these drops are also random, so the user doesn't know what he's getting, which item he's getting when he's buying one. And then you can publish it, and basically it will go to drops here, and your kind of drop will look something like this. It's a landing page where people can mint one by one or how many NFTs they want, and you will see a percentage. It's basically the typical drops like you see on OpenSea or I don't know other marketplaces. Okay, now once you are kind of logged in the creator studio, you will see this menu here with kind of more details. This is kind of the menu to manage your creator studio and the items within the creator studio. So you have the projects, you have also the team. Here are basically roles. It's kind of like collaboration. You can invite other people to work with you on collection and projects. This we developed because we thought of Foton more as a hub for kind of managing digital assets, either it being, I don't know, ticketing or real world assets, or in general it's a platform for tokenization, if you want to call it like that. Even if initially we started more on the art NFTs, but generally we designed it to be to have a general purpose use, so you could do a lot of things with it. And when you invite people, basically you define the roles. These purple roles are kind of the master roles, we call them. You can also go into more details and customize them, and they become blue ones. So if you want customized admin roles, you can do that there. Anyway, so when you create, you add a role, you will be able to kind of manage it, and you define the basically roles are badges that you send to other people in their wallets. So you have to define these badges, how they look, kind of, and what behavior they have. Here, the definition basically is more how they look and name. The next step with permissions, basically you have all the details where you define what these badges can do. So if you have this badge, you can edit NFTs, you can create collections, you can mint and publish, withdraw items. So it's kind of a rabbit hole just going through all these details here. Yes, yeah, when you ask why it's not coming Foton, basically this is why, because it's a lot of pages and details. Okay, what else? Transactions, basically here is like a history of your studio transactions, and when you are minting you see all these different types. You have also details. Basically these are also useful when you are minting let's say 10,000 items, because we have to batch the collection in, let's say, 20 by 20 and mint them. So here you can follow the process, and in case one of the batches is failing, you can kind of retry again and it corrects. Usually it goes in one go, but might happen, I don't know, some glitches here and there in the network. So that's why we just had to make it, because if we don't monitor this, then you might find in your wallet less than they should be. So we had to address it anyway. Okay, we will have more analytics, but these pages I'm not gonna go now through them. This menu, basically it changes depending in what mode you are, if you are in creator, studio, or collector kind of hub. Okay, now let's go to the creator hub. Basically this is if you don't want to be bothered with creating NFTs and you just collect stuff, trade, do things like that. You will have a page where you will see your ranking. This is a gamification we planned, as you know, with tesseracts and points and activity on the platform. So we will measure it here, and you will kind of grow in levels. This will not be implemented at launch because it's also a lot of work, and we have to see how the activity is going and what to measure exactly. You will see your collected items. They will be grouped by collections. You will see also the ones you created, if you have created ones. You have some followers. You can follow people and projects. In collections, you will see this follow. If you follow them, basically they will show up here in this menu. The idea was to make it similar to Discord when you kind of have communities, because basically each project or collection, it's a community of holders. So that was the idea of having this. So when you kind of go in a collection, you will have kind of all the holders there described. Maybe I show directly. Basically we have these tabs here where you will have details about the collection, followers, holders. We were planning to add here voting also, so your holders can vote on certain, I don't know, topics, or where the collection is going, or what to do with this and that. The idea was to structure it so we can expand this feature in the future, because it will not be just kind of for colorful JPEGs. It's a tokenization platform mainly. Okay, so I think this might be all. The public pages are the collections, basically, where you see all the collections. You can filter them on different kind of criteria. You have the drops, you have the stats, where you see the volumes and so forth. And the last page is a discover page, mainly pages like blogs when we have seasons with leaderboards and quests, small kind of tutorials, developer SDK, which we will launch later. But anyway, these are kind of details, and I don't think it's worth going through into them now. Maybe the collection, what I have to show you, it's also when you kind of buy and sell items. You have sort of a cart. You add basically your items here. You can do more simultaneously, select where to send them, and complete purchase if you want to do it instantly. If you want to list them, basically, yeah, you have to go also through a sort of wizard. You see actually dropped here all the screens at once because I had to forward them to Raresh, but basically you will have a wizard for what type of listing you want to do, with a fixed price, you want auction, what type of auction, and basically so forth. As you can see, it maybe looks a bit overwhelming because there are so many details, but when it's a wizard you don't see them all at once, so you will go step by step, so it will be more fluent. We were planning also swaps. Basically here, if you don't want to use XRD, you want to swap an NFT for another one, but this we will add also a bit later. And on the item page you will see the traits, rarity, the usual things, the history for each item, like offers, price changes in time, and the events that happened. Okay, so I think that's it, to keep it short and don't go too much into the weeds. Have a look at it, and if you have any questions we can continue in the space today. See you soon.